Kind of shifting gears a little bit to, none of us are health experts. None of us are going to project what's going to happen with COVID-19. But I do think it's interesting to talk about what folks should be doing right now or taking advantage of, because we are seeing a lot more interest, a lot more questions probably than we have in a few years around different types of insurance needs and revisiting this from insurance planning and estate planning and tax planning approach. Has COVID-19 changed the need for life insurance coverage in any way, in your opinion?
I think anything, unfortunately, in our world, anything that brings to the forefront mortality for people, that changes their perspective on this. And so have I gotten more calls during this process? Yes. Because people are worried, not that they're maybe worried about dying, but maybe they're hearing about somebody else that has been dealing with issues like, well, maybe I should get this taken care of so that if it does happen to me, I have taken care of this. So the conversation has definitely been more popular during this process. And I think the other reason is that people are home a little bit more some of them have a little more time to actually get to some of these planning issues. You and I were talking about this earlier today, where some people, now that they aren't having to commute to the office, or they don't have the distractions of the office or anything else going on, some of the planning issues that we've been discussing with them for months, maybe even years, are finally getting taken care of, because they're like, hey, you know what? I can actually deal with this now. So it has changed. It's not like the carriers are advertising this right now, but they have made some things easier on the underwriting side to help clients get through it. They've done a lot more around accelerated underwriting, which means they're trying to do less parameds, meaning the physicals. So they're trying to progress to not expose more people potentially to the virus. So it has made the process a little bit easier. There's still challenges. It's not simple. It's not easy. It's not perfect. But they've tried to make it a little bit easier for clients to get to it. And that's helped clients move forward, because they know now, like, oh, I don't have to do that now. No, you don't have to do that. Just do this underwriting call with the carrier and potentially you're covered. So that's helped.
Right. No, I think that's interesting. And also, I mean, related maybe to life insurance, but also other areas of insurance like disability or long-term care. Are you seeing anything, the need there going up, either from a planning standpoint or just, again, more questions because of what you mentioned about people being at home or changes in life events happening?
Yeah, we are seeing some changes. Disability, it's the topic of insurance, and that, coronavirus could create a disability. And so people are maybe addressing it and thinking it through. Again, doesn't mean they're buying it, just actually talking and addressing it. Long-term care, unfortunately, because of what the age group that coronavirus does impact, some older clients are wanting to talk more and more about long-term care and again, address it. The downside for them is that the carriers are a little hesitant at times, depending on, certain other health conditions that may be going on with the client, to move forward. They want to wait until a couple things get through before they would maybe make the offer. But we're seeing the carriers adjust to that. But we have seen some stalling from the carrier perspective, especially around long-term care when it comes to potentially dealing with COVID-19 stuff.
Okay. No, it's interesting. Yeah, we've seen more activity, a lot of things planning, but especially in this space. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about how the insurance companies are evolving in light of the COVID-19 environment. What changes do you anticipate, or have you heard or been talking about with some of your carriers and other, underwriters to the industry as we move forward in terms of change or opportunity?
Yeah, I'm hoping one of the positive things is with the carriers during this process trying to make the underwriting process easier on clients, especially younger and healthier clients, to get them through the process, realizing they're not as risky to them as they once deemed maybe. I hope that sticks, because it has been it's a better buying experience for the client. On the flip side, a couple downside risk of these things is that the interest rate environment is still not very good. And the carriers are conservative investors on the back end. So they're not getting a rate of return on their cash, which impacts pricing on the back end for their clients. So they will be increasing pricing on some of their products to just make up for what they're not getting as a rate of return. It's just unfortunately that's their business. They have to do that. And because of some of the risk potentially with COVID-19, that potentially we could see some price increases on certain classes of clients because of the risk involved with that client. It's just unfortunate. I mean, that's their business, right? They have to underwrite a client based on a standard of risk. And then but if they're more at risk because of something going on, they will probably have to increase price to account for that risk.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear about the interest rate environment because it's impacting so many industries. I mean, it's good for refis, it's good for borrowing, right? It's good for valuation purposes, the low rate. But in terms of so many other planning strategies, that interest rate does impact so many things in different ways. So it's interesting to hear that perspective, even on the insurance side as well. One last question, I think, given there's so much going on, and again, like I said before, there's no telling how slow or fast things will move forward in different areas or different industries. But if you had to go out and talk to clients or those who are considering smart planning decisions all around, when it comes to what you do and what you see, what would you be telling people that there's opportunities to take advantage of right now and to go out and do them and not wait? What would that be?
I think I've kind of addressed this a couple of times, but I believe if they're young and healthy, now's the time to potentially look at term insurance. Because again, there's a sweet spot with the underwriting process that clients are getting through it in a easier, less invasive process. That's probably the best way to put it. I think that's an advantage. The same thing goes for disability. Carriers are offering higher limits without any physical measurements needed or any labs needed or anything like that. So they're making that process a little bit easier for younger, healthy clients. So I think that is an advantage right now. And pricing, they haven't really changed the pricing for that. So, take advantage of that. I think if you're considering, long-term care planning, and you're a little bit older aged, I think now is the time to start addressing that planning, because some carriers are already starting to announce price increases coming through the rest of the year. And so you want to, and if you get the application in before that happens, you get grandfathered into the old price. They can't change that on you. So maybe an opportunity to take advantage of that early on before those changes do come. You can't predict all that with a crystal ball, right? That's hard to force. I don't want clients to feel like they're forced into doing something just because something that may happen. But I do know price changes are coming. And so if they are thinking about it, probably now is a good time to start addressing it and planning it and seeing what's something they're serious about.
Okay, well, that's really good to hear. I think, because if it does, things do prolong a little bit longer, I got to think that doing it sooner than later is probably going to be a smart move. So good thoughts there. Well, Phil Seibel, Collaborative Planning Group, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it as always. I'm sure we'll probably be talking again in a few months as things continue to evolve and we know more about elections and potential changes with different things that are current right now. And so I look forward to having you back again. And thanks again for the time.
Really appreciate it. Thanks again for asking me to join.
Of course. Take care.
You too.